Oh dear.
Yeah.
Hey, Josh, I see you're on. This is Dave Messina. Shall we? I think we may have a quorum, or did you want to wait a couple minutes?
No, I think we're good to go. I was
Okay.
just gonna throw one more post in the thing, get a couple more people in here if they want to join, and
Sure.
from there we're
This really
ready
isn't.
to rock.
This is really isn't a governance meeting. Pretty much just an open forum for the community to come and give us feedback and direction.
Okay, great. Then I'll listen.
Cujo said at everyone. Voice chat is live. Jump in.
That's my real I call him Mr. Motorface. He
That's
likes to
awesome.
talk. Mr. Motorface, he has a personality, so if he jumps in and you don't expect it, I'm sorry.
That's all right. Hey, first off, I'd like to welcome Zoe back after her extended absence. Glad to have you back, girl. So,
I'm really glad to be back. It's been way too long.
so first off, that's pretty big deal. Second off, we wrapped up the glossary this last week and kind of dropped that into the Pathfinder group, but give me a second and I will drop a link to that in the general group, and you'll have to excuse me, it's like 8 pages long, so I don't think that, I mean, I don't want to sit here and go over everything with that, but it is there if you guys see something, if you're perusing it during the chat and you see something that needs to be fixed or a definition that can be kind of cleared up, feel free to drop a note in or shoot me a direct message or anything like that. So while I'm dropping that, Sean, do you want to jump in with anything?
I don't have anything new this week. I know we were talking about filing last week with Chad and Dave. So I'm just curious about where that's at and if there's anything more needed from us on.
Yeah, I can respond to that. This is Dave. We have we're waiting for a couple of questions to be answered back from the attorneys that I had. There were references the FPV Freedom Coalition will be registered in the state of Virginia. So there are there are several code references in the Articles of Incorporation that reference specifics to Virginia law that I had some questions about. And my background is in for-profit. So as a nonprofit, I had some questions on disbursements, but more mechanics. So we've got just very much details that just go back and forth. Nothing that I think is of a material nature. The next step where we could use some help is we need to create a set of bylaws for the FPVFC, and so that's something that maybe the Pathfinder group can work on, and I'm happy to help edit and write. But it's that would that's a requirement for filing. It is included in the documents.
I do
Got
have
it.
that. I do have that underway. It's just kind of slow going this week, but I did put in some work on it
Awesome.
a couple days ago and today. But trying to write things in legal form is a little taxing on me. So
Sure.
but I've got about 5 pages. I've kind of been using the AMAs because those are published as kind of a guideline, and I whipped up I had a form. There was a free form on a website that kind of helped get the standard stuff in there, and then kind of editing to fit our needs, so that we can kind of look over that. I'll drop that in here in a second as well.
Okay. Yeah, and it of course needs to be relevant to a nonprofit, which I'm learning more and more about. But the board structure, officer structure, requirements for minutes, voting, things of that nature are consistent profit to nonprofit. So whatever template you found should be useful. and using the AMA as a template, I think, is ideal. And that's certainly in the States. That's the model of it appears to be as the CBO for the AMA. So that's good.
Absolutely, and I know one of the form I had didn't have the membership aspect to it, so kind of going through that. That's where I'm at right now, getting that kind of aligned, and but we will need to define, what our memberships are going to be, like our classes or categories, and that kind of stuff. So that's where I'm at right now with it. Give me a second, I'll drop that in.
Okay.
Are
Excellent.
you attempting to write this all in legalese from the get-go?
So the form that it comes in is in the legalese that we require. So I've been using that as kind of a template of how to word it, along with the AMA's bylaws as kind of a template on how to word things. But again, modifying it for our needs in our language, as much as I can, and then the lawyers can take it, or maybe even Dave can take it and kind of, dress it up the way it needs to be dressed up.
Sure.
I guess my thought is if we're going to solicit feedback from some people here, it needs to be in a language they understand. So if you guys do pull out, points of contention or questions or things that we probably should look at, maybe put them in a plain language so that before we do. And on the membership stuff, does that have to be included into the bylaws, or can that be referenced at all from a second document in case it changes?
So from what I'm seeing, most of the bylaws for membership-based organizations are in the bylaws.
Got it.
But legally, I don't know. I mean, we can reference a conflict of interest policy separate from the bylaws and separate from the articles of incorporation. So, I mean, there might be a standard there in which we can do that. But if we're going to be a CBO, community-based organization, which is also a membership-based organization by the FAA standards, then we're going to have that for approval as a CBO either way. But whether we would need it for approval as a nonprofit is another question.
So Sean, you've added another question that I've noted here that I'll ask a couple of attorneys, which is, do we have to refile if we change the bylaws? Which of course we would not want to have to refile, and certainly changing bylaws is something that is a pretty matter of course in my experience.
Yeah, these levels of I mean, I don't think the fact that we have members or not is in question, but whether or not what the levels look like, how they're defined, how many, those types of details is something we might want to remain dynamic or flexible on in the future.
Right. Yeah. In normal structure, is it do we want to catalog it as a policy, which goes into the the highest level structure of the organization that would be incorporated in the articles of incorporation, or do we document it in a procedure or practice that it's it's a lot looser and it's something that we can control dynamically?
Exactly. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. So maybe when looking at that membership section, it can be a little bit generic to account for that. Allow some movement in the future. Just I'm not thinking that there's it's kind of up in the air, we don't know what it looks like. It's just that it might be subject to change
Right.
based on the conditions of the environment.
Yeah, I take your point. You're not on a point of membership. You're on a more general. Hey, what's our ability to change this? And once we lock, once it's written and submitted to the IRS. I think that's a really good point. And the changes to the articles do require resubmission, which is expensive and time consuming. And so we would like to try to avoid that.
Keep that in mind.
That's great. I gotta get me one of those, man. So just
For
you
real.
could just be off cooking eggs and it reads it to you. That's
Wait, I could actually ask the computer what time it is. It says, let's see, Mr. Motorface, Motorface. Not gonna do it. Anyway.
It's like Alexa.
Kinda, but Motorface.
So for the glossary that we put together, this one here, is this the extensive one or the one that just references items that were that we
That's a fully extensive one. That's like eight or 10 pages.
All right, so this would be standalone for the website.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, if everybody could take a look at that, go through it with a fine-tooth comb and find something we did wrong and tell us. Also, if you guys see, have any terms or concepts or ideas in your FPV hobby that you do not see here, maybe suggest them as well. And then we got a bylaws straw man. So this is the thing that I'm gonna have to go read through and try to understand too.
Yeah, keep in mind it's still a work in progress. I'm also trying to modify the form that it's in, so it's all cohesive, so that it fits with the rest of our documents. But so the first couple sections are complete. There's some basic membership settings in there for adult and youth, but we can set up like special, like the AMA has special memberships, stuff like that. Set up that, you know, anybody who's, some of the key points would be anybody who's working for the FPV Freedom Coalition, whether it be board of directors, officers, or anybody else, still needs to be a due paying member, you know, all that kind of stuff. So everybody's on the same level in terms of that. So there's no like special like fringe benefits or anything like that for anybody in terms of not paying membership or anything. So everybody contributes, everybody's a part of it. So
On the membership stuff, I kind of like had some thoughts about creatively tying it to FAA exceptions. So if we wanted to do that in the future, I wonder how, like, do we have to have that stuff defined in here, or like we were talking before, can we reference that? You know, certain membership, special memberships will be defined, you know, in another document, but we leave a placeholder here for them. The idea pretty much is that if FPV pilots want to take a high-level competency test to display that they can explore and discover new fly spots in a safe way, almost like, you know, a higher level of FPV pilot, right? Somebody who is qualified to establish flight lines or something like that, that can then gain exceptions from the FAA. Some of these paths to like be on line of sight and flying without a spotter and things like this might live in that area. But I think that membership might be the way to go to define those people.
might be a combination of membership and education.
Yeah, I would say that this is probably going to involve a competency test of some kind, unfortunately. At that level, at least. At a normal membership level, I don't think that like displaying the ability to do these things would have to be a requirement of that member.
So like a basic knowledge test.
Sort of. I mean, the basic knowledge test is probably what the FAA is going to force all of us to take. But what I would say is a test that would test somebody's ability to analyze and think, you know, more of in a vacuum, right? Using all the tools they know. What is their knowledge, skills, and abilities when it comes to flying safely, finding places to possibly fly without a spotter or be on line of sight safely.
Okay, makes sense.
Hey, this is possibly years down the road, though.
And I gotta say, just reading the document, there's a lot in there already. I just gotta say, good work. Like that's quite a bit of stuff already compiled.
Which one you talking about? The glossary?
Yeah, just the work in progress from Kojo. It's pretty good. Like it actually covers quite a bit, even though it's just a start. It's quite a start. I've missed a lot apparently.
Oh yeah, yeah, we've done a lot. The website's actually changed a bunch. We should probably take a look at that, see where this fits in as
Yeah, I
well.
was just going to ask if she had a chance to take a look at that.
Now I'm gonna do that now since I'm actually live streaming. I might as well
Drop
show
the
it off.
link in, sir.
A bit on
Yeah,
what you were
everything.
just mentioning. Me and Dave Messina earlier were talking about it. I was telling him how things are done in Europe over here in terms of training. I've done both. I've done both commercial operator license training in Poland as well as getting a membership within the Dutch flying clubs and what they require.
y.squarespace.com.
And I think it's a good idea for you guys to kind of establish a set of standard operating procedures as sort of recommendations at first, but then you can go and build on that and build kind of a certification process which could also be used, for example, for insurance in the future.
Oh
if you
yes,
manage to
yes. This
establish
is exactly what I'm
general
talking
standard.
about.
But I wouldn't wait till it's years down the line, because it takes years to build it up, and in the meantime, by doing it, you're showing to your potential partners that you are taking a proactive approach to it, and you are actively promoting safe operations.
Well, you just brought up a real the word insurance, which really set off a bell for me. And that is see, I didn't see a means to do what you're saying until you mentioned insurance, and then that, like, bing, like there it is. If members wanted to gain this higher level designation, certification, or level, I really want to disguise it as a membership. Let's not call it a certification. If they want to gain this higher level of coalition membership, they then gain access to probably maybe a cheaper level of insurance. Like, that would be incentive to do that now in lieu of FAA, exceptions. Yeah,
go ahead.
Oh, but that does involve getting the insurance companies involved, and I do not believe we have really, started that up yet due to us not being filed. So that gets into the monetary.
And I definitely think that's an idea. To retell the story quickly, basically, flying here in the Netherlands, there's of course a lot of people doing that illegally. But if you want to fly within an organized environment, you have the opportunity to do that. You become a member. You become a member of a flight club, which is associated with a national organization, and you need to show to the flight club instructors that you need to present certain skills in flying and operating, whether it's a drone or a flying model. And there's great emphasis on safe operation preparation for flight. I've seen people fail because they didn't check the propellers before flight. But once that was drilled into them, they would immediately get the so-called brevet, and then they were allowed to legally fly, because the instructor would sign his name on it, and that document would go to the KNVVL, which is the master organization, and only then are you insured. But in case something would happen, there would always be a full investigation, not just for the flight, but the whole running of the operation. Like, everything you did from the moment you showed up to the moment the thing went down. Sort of.
Who does those investigations there?
I don't know. The one time I saw it done, it was done by a member of my club who's also within the mother organization. But in case there is an accident, usually, if you don't want to get the civilian aviation authority involved, right? But so we
Not if you don't have to.
No, not if you don't have to. In case they get involved, then it's completely out of the hands of anybody else at that point. But this case, it was the mother organization trying to see if there wasn't a problem with how the club was run, just to be on the safe side.
So when they complete something like that, do they publish it transparently and openly, kind of find root causes, like a lessons learned, like, and tell everybody, don't do it this way anymore?
There is certainly there's an after report. It's public in that way that the club members knew about it. The club members were told about it. Everybody involved was informed. There were certain recommendations made, but because it was a minor accident that didn't involve any damage to public property or anything like that, and there was no casualties of any sort, it was simply said, okay, guys, you need to move a little bit to the left in that particular case. It was literally just changing the area of operations for the club.
Yeah, it's like finely tuning your safety guidelines. It's not a
Exactly.
bad idea, but it takes a lot of time and manpower, and sometimes in America those things take months.
And no, a reasonable approach. They asked for a step-by-step description of what was done, why the crash happened, and it was just a expert view from the club guys, basically, and that was it. They didn't escalate it beyond, but obviously if there was an insurance claim, then the insurance company comes in and so on.
So this would go into our iterative review of our safety guidelines, guys. So if we do have, like, say, okay, so we file, we're all official and everything, our safety guidelines go out, and people start flying under them, right? If something happens, we find flaws in it, or we find it's not working, we do have to review it in this way. So we'll have to dissect any kind of incident, figure out if there was any issues with the aircraft or people or with the guidelines.
Absolutely, I think that's definitely important. I would completely agree with that.
I think we've talked about reviewing our safety guidelines initially, just I think biannually, twice a year, but this really is a more proactive, thing that we have to be worried about all the time.
All right, so any comments on the glossary or work in progress, just while we're kind of in that area? Comments on the website.
Zoe, is that background noise coming from you?
Yeah, it sounds like she's trying to contact aliens or talk to dolphins or something.
That is so weird.
The wonders of cellular Wi-Fi.
There we go. Thank you, Zoe.
All right, so 50, talk about some of the changes you made on the website, bud.
I'm sorry, did you just say something? I was distracted.
No, you're fine. You want to talk about some of the changes you made on the website?
I haven't made any changes since our last meeting. I don't know if we went through everything. I know we discussed some potential changes, and we made a few minor things during the meeting.
Yeah, we added the community tab, which we'll have to come up with some content solutions for.
There's just a basic placeholder there of getting the community involved to give us links and places and stuff to put on there, but there's nothing there yet.
Have we discussed, having a forum of some kind involved in that area?
Yeah, I'm a little bit limited in what Squarespace offers, I think. I can definitely put blogs and give people the ability to post, their own blog kind of stuff there, but I don't think Squarespace really has a full-on like forum. Not that I've noticed yet.
No, that would have to be added in.
It would be like
separately.
PHPBB, and then you link the databases and stuff. It's a pain in the butt.
Yeah, so it just runs parallel. It's possible, but let's get the core functionality working, and then we can add stuff like that. But yeah, it's
What do you
definitely
think about
possible.
that, Chad? I mean, because it opens up a can of words with having to moderate it and all these types of things. I mean, is it a good idea to have a forum of our
Yeah,
own for this?
absolutely. Eventually, I think we want to make sure when we launch it that we know exactly what we want from it, and and how it's going to function. Because I've started a couple now, and you just when you launch them, you need to be really clear about how they're intended to be used, and then they usually build on themselves after that. So yeah, I absolutely think we should have it. I just want to get the core function of the website going first.
What would be nice is actually to possibly change the Facebook group over to a Facebook page for more of an outlet, and then turn this internal forum not even into sections, just one section, FPVFC section, forum section, and that become our, what we've been using the Facebook for. Not very effective.
Mhm. Yeah, I think, and believe it or not, the topic matter kind of helps. I don't want to say dictate, but different topics do better in different types of forums.
Exactly.
The more casual it is, the better Facebook is for it. The more technical and like this, we're talking about legal and bylaws, and things like that. I think it would be more appropriate to be like a forum.
As far as making the website, like officially launching the website, are you still waiting to hear back from the lawyers about that, or do you have a plan?
Let's get some feedback from everybody.
I mean, first off, I think we need to have everything as done as we can make it. Let's get the glossary popped up. The bigger glossary. I know you've got one up there. And then let's get some content on the community page. The more finished we can make it, the better off we'll be at launch. That way we're not looking like we're still under construction.
Sounds good.
That's sort of why I brought up the community tab. Like if we're seriously talking about publishing this before we go live with our filing, then we would need to make sure that it's completely done.
Yeah, I can definitely
Well-
also just hide the community page until we've got content and bring that live later.
Yeah, I was going to say I would recommend, we just start simpler and then bring in community later, because we'll start getting some feedback, whether it come through Discord or the Facebook forums, that'll help us shape that portion of it.
That's true. How do you guys feel about releasing this website before we're done filing? I mean, what do you guys think about that? That's the real question here is, do we keep the website and just continually polish it and tune it until we're done with our filing and then we go live with everything at once? Or do we go live with the website now to help drum up interest?
I like the website a lot. I really would like to get it. I know I was the one that said let's wait and hear more from legal, but legal takes forever. So I'm kind of chomping at the bit to get it live. Dave, I usually go to you for stuff like this. What are your thoughts on it going live before we get everything filed?
I think if we simply put a caveat on it, so that we're not claiming that the organization is in place and in existence, because if we claim that it's a nonprofit and a CBO, before we're granted that by the IRS, we're stating something that if part of the review is to glance at the website, and if I were working in the IRS, I'd be annoyed. But if it said clearly, hey, that we've submitted, the application to the IRS has been submitted to gain our nonprofit status, so that we can then work with the FAA to become a CBO. I think that's good, and that should drum up interest, because I do believe it's going to take months of review. First with the IRS, and then second with the FAA.
We
Yeah,
could
I
double
think
check,
func-
but I don't think the website states anything about us actually being a nonprofit yet.
Well, let's see if there's any hinting, or if if there's an implication that it's a CBO, or what's the.
So I think we need a good deep review of the website. Just make sure there's none
Yep.
of that language in there, and then maybe somewhere on the homepage just say we are currently undergoing filing status for our
Mhm.
501c3 and yada 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 in hopes to become a CBO recognized by the FAA on that front page, and that's kind of our placeholder, and it can be there in the at the top of the intro page, or let's see, um maybe like right under why FPV flight is worth protecting, right above the links there.
I
Or
would say
something
right
to that
above
regard.
that, next to the latest coalition. Like this would be like latest status news stuff. It'd be
Okay.
right next to those top two items.
Okay, so we can definitely put that on there and have that
Yeah,
there.
that sounds great if you wanted to add that, Cujo.
I can do that.
the one thing that we should be clear about is because anybody that's interested in this and that goes their first question most likely is going to be, what can I do? Like if they want to get involved. So we should have that answered for them, through the website somehow. Because at this point, what can they do? That's the other concern about maybe getting it up before we've got everything filed.
Yeah, the website, well, on the top right corner, there's the take action kind of highlighted area. That just tells you to apply to fill out that Google Doc, I think, and then join Discord.
Yep.
So maybe on that page there, on this take action page, what Chad is saying is some sort of paragraphs or two that's already, answering their questions that we can foresee, an FAQ of sorts. And right now, I mean, people can submit photos, they can join these meetings and provide feedback, they can jump in and volunteer their time, but we don't really have anything major because all these guys who have jumped in have kind of tackled all these major things, and now we're kind of like the hurry up and wait phase. So you could also have a dynamic kind of status of like current tasks, like weekly tasks you could put up there to communicate these things to people in case they see one.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think adding
something
some more
along
to that
those
page would be great.
Maybe have a paragraph explaining where we're at on one side, and then on the other side, we can have something that the pathfinding team can maintain and outsource work.
May I recommend that we take down the HR 302 annotated copy?
Why is that?
Um,
Just because it's a lot of opinion.
exactly.
Yeah, that's a good reason. I think the FAQ does it, and most of the FPV pilots we know are too lazy enough to dive into that thing anyway.
Yeah, I would agree that the FAQ kind of covers most of that information. So we can pull that down, and especially when we undergo FAA review as a CBO, that probably won't sit too well.
Exactly.
But it's primarily been used internally, and it can continue to be.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay, it's done.
Sweet.
Oh, one more thing. Speaking of G36's work, he has put together the timeline for the FAA's requirement. We should take a look at this thing because it is a ton of information.
And where is that, John?
Dig it up here. G36, you got it?
Yeah, I do. I'm just looking at it on the site itself. Let me see if I can pop it up.
So this document is a new document that was produced this week by the coalition. I guess we could just call it the deadlines doc. But this is cool. In its current form, it's useful for us. I don't know if it's presentable like to the community. Maybe it would need to be, put into something, like a timeline or something fancy for the website so people can click and mouse over, go over, whatever. But at the same time, this is very dated information. It has a time limit and it's going to expire. Its usefulness is going to expire soon. So this is something that I'd like to get out to the community very quickly and get spread around so that it could be repeated and people know what the score is. It also puts pressure on the FAA. When the FAA knows that we've propagated this, they know that everybody knows and they're going to be holding their feet to the fire.
It's dated information. That's a perfect infibly. There's so few of those.
Sorry.
No, it's
It's
quite all right.
aging. The proper term would be this is aging information every second.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm looking at it. This is excellent.
So I don't know. I don't think there's any legal questions here. This is pretty much the
Right.
regulations interpretation, guys.
Right. This is a lift.
So yeah, the real question is what form do we want to get it out there? And is this form good enough for the purpose of getting it out quickly?
Boy. I think it is pristine clear.
Yeah, it's just a header with the highlights as the dates progress, so you know what to expect and when, and then you have to go back into the regulations and dive
it's
into
got-
it if you're interested in that particular topic.
Yeah, and you've got the section reference right there. This is a lot. This was a lot of work. Thank you.
Yeah, I thought it would be like, fairly small with some major items, but I didn't realize it was 10 pages. This is incredible information.
Yeah, that turned out to be ridiculously long, but great information.
This might be something, if we're planning on putting the website out, you can throw up and link to the website kind of thing. At some point, we want to stop pasting all of our documents and information out on RC groups and Facebook and point people to our website.
Yeah, this could go underneath the additional resources part of the website.
I think you guys aren't putting enough emphasis on the resources on the website, honestly. I'm never going to be a member of your organization because
say more. Say more. What you mean by not enough emphasis on the resources? I'm not arguing. I'm interested in the point.
I understand. I'm never going to be a member of your organization, so I'm really here just observing and having a chat. When I go to that website, it takes me about 5 minutes to find a reason to keep browsing, and that's resources, the checklists. I just found them right now. But I have to click, I will first click from left to right, and that's the last thing on that list, number one. And I would simply recommend that what you need to do is take this website as it is and show to somebody who's not on here, who's not involved, who's not interested, and see how they react to it. And if there is something on there that will start reeling them in, sort of thing. I understand that's not necessarily what you're trying to achieve with the website, maybe, but what will the average FPV Joe do when he sees it? He'll open it, look at one or two links, and then click, to close. I think you need to put more things out there to get people involved, interested, give them something.
So are you talking more educational resources or?
That's up to you.
No, I'm questioning what you would be looking for as part of the website.
No, what he's saying is that if we look at it from left to right, home, about us, team, press, safety, resources, what he's saying is resources, which is pretty much the meat and potatoes, the product that we have produced thus far, our service is kind of minimized by being down at the bottom over there. Whereas this is pretty much our greatest value to the community. We could move this straight. This is kind of in front of like us, the team, right? This information is more important to the community than who we are.
You have different targets there, obviously, right? You want to integrate the community, one, but you also want to be able to do the behind the scenes things, right? But you can't do the behind the scene things if you don't have anybody standing behind you, or not a whole lot of people. actively standing behind you. So you have to essentially create a product for them, whatever that
exactly.
may be in the future. If it could be training videos, it can be, if a mom wants to know what FPV is before she spends money for her son, there should be a website. There should be a page or a video explaining to her that it is safe. This is what, and these are the advantages of doing it, and this is how you do it safely. A lot of PR essentially, and nothing to do with what you're doing on a daily basis, but it will bring people in, and it will also establish you as an organization
Got it. Okay.
that has a voice.
Yep.
Uh,
So
That's my
just
thing.
more content that keeps people interested in the site and in the organization as a whole. So I get where you're coming from. Thank you, sir.
We did talk briefly, and no one's done this yet, but of creating sort of an introductory video, like an About Us video or something. So that would sort of tie into what he's saying.
Not
And that could be
necessarily.
right on the main page.
Not necessarily
mean-
about us, but what I think what he's saying is more of a getting started in FPV, or what is this all about? Take it even further back, right? Like
What is
imagine
FPV?
somebody who has no idea what this is all about, clicking on a video.
Right. And I mean, we can create videos if people would be willing to do that. I can write articles. That's simple enough. That we can get up there, like what is FPV or getting started in FPV. That is something we can definitely pursue. That's some great feedback. Thank you.
And I also think you guys should utilize the fact that Black Friday and Christmas is coming up. So if you could produce a fly safe infomercial before then.
True story.
Hey Zoe, you taking notes on this?
I was just going to say that I know someone who's good at making things like infomercials.
Yeah, we can't hear you, Zoe.
Apparently, she just
Something's
sounds like
messed
a
up.
chipmunk.
I don't think it's dolphins she's communicated with. I think it's squirrels.
Just type Zoe.
Musical chipmunk.
So I like Janek's recommendation a lot. And when I think of another group I'm involved in, it's related to old BMW motorcycles. And as they're 50 years old or thereabout, there are fewer and fewer people that work on these things. And so tips and techniques and where you can get parts and any how-to you can find. And so because the stage of FPV right now is very DIY, very much, we have to all be geeks to be able to get these things in the air, learning, and links to Joshua Bardwell's site, links to useful tips and techniques. What is it? Getting started. I think if you click on the website and it's like, how do how do I get there and what can I download? What's a freebie here on this site? Is there swag? Part of the community. So embracing and a big bear hug around anyone who's interested in FPV, I think, is a great notion.
Starting to list these resources and link to them would probably be the first step. I don't think that all of these people are working on their own content, their own stuff. So we don't want to necessarily say like, oh, come and work on our stuff. Yeah, we don't want to reinvent the wheel. So you got like, you even got Steele with this FPV Bible I'm looking at. You got Bardwell. You got people going back way far. And it's always changing. It's always updating. And these people are constantly working on it. And we could be linking to that right from our resources.
Agreed.
I'm sure that they would appreciate it too, because it's just giving them attention.
Yeah.
Now, are we at the point where we feel comfortable kind of, I guess, linking up shops and like Get FPV, Team Black Sheep, all these other different places to get parts? Are we comfortable that, number one, they would be okay with us putting their links on our site, which I'm sure they would because it's more traffic for them, but on the same time, are we comfortable with saying yes, they want to be affiliated with us?
I think it would have to be kind of a partnership. We'd want to communicate with them. I don't think we'd want to just be shoving links on the site from people we haven't talked to or people that are not friends. most of these people we know, or somebody knows, somebody who knows them, so it's no big deal. We can get a whole. Flight Test is a good content producer, a lot of that real beginner stuff too, which is good, which is parent friendly and family friendly. And
Yeah, and there's Get FPV's Learn site, which I've been involved with, so which has a lot of good content on it as well.
yeah, all the
Another
guys.
thing-
In fact, Get FPV, Ready Made RC, I think are some of the big ones. They would totally be down.
Another thing you might want to do is start a listing of safe flying locations where people can learn to fly or can go and meet other people and fly. If there's anything like that, I don't know if you want to link back to AMA sites.
A
I think
lot
as
of
part
it's
the
done.
education, talked about
A
doing
lot
some
of
that.
the FPV spot organization is done by local groups. So most of the time at the national level in the US, FPV pilots will be referred to their local community, which will be smaller local communities that keep tabs of their spots and maintain all that. The AMA is completely outside of that, though.
Yes, but I mean, like, one central point where you can get as much knowledge about doing it the right way as possible. And just even though you're just repeating potentially the information, I wouldn't know right now if I were planning to go, for example, to New York next week. I wouldn't even know where to look for places to fly.
I liked what Sean mentioned a couple meetings ago, where under our education area there would be like how to find a safe place to fly, or what to look for, how to know a place is safe, and then you would apply that to wherever you happen to be.
That's for like more expert FPV pilots, I guess, or somebody that's wanting to, leave the AMA club and go out and maybe do some more cowboy stuff. But I think this is more like reference material, right? So a beginner FPV pilot who wants to fly FPV, he may figure out how to build one and he's sitting at home with his mom. It's like, okay, now it's time to go fly it. Who do we talk to around here in our town? They might not even have they have no resources in that respect other than random pirate FPV Facebook groups and stuff from local communities. Like we all know them. I know most of the nationwide groups, and they break down into smaller regions and everything. And so we just point them to the subject matter experts in any given area. Like when people travel, they'll ask, what Facebook group do I need to join because I'm going to be in this area? I want to talk to the FPV experts in this area. So how do I reach them? And it'll either be a forum, a Facebook group, a Discord, or something, right? But we're just so loose. We're so unofficial and loose. It's kind of hard to account for that. It's kind of hard to organize that. And if we go and make a big map and put all the spots on it, we'll just piss them all off because they're kind of like secret spots a lot to these groups. So we kind of have to embrace their culture, our constituents, at this point. And we're not necessarily we're not necessarily advocating for people who are looking for an AMA flying field. Does that make sense?
Hey, create a little forum link and looking for spotter.
Or you could have like Chad was talking about the forum, breaking it down into sections. We could have regional sections. The Mountaineers do this. It's obvious, you have different sections of the forum for different mountain ranges depending on where you're going and who you're going to ask that knows about that area, right? So like if I'm traveling to California, I'll go ask in the FPV forum for California, say, hey guys, what's up? Where I want to fly this and that. Who do I hook up with?
And you see some of that in like the Rotorite group or some of the other groups. People are like, "Hey, traveling here, where do I go?"
Exactly. Yeah,
And
totally.
but
I
the
know.
other thing that we could, I think, definitely do is on the community page, we could create links to the Facebook groups of at least the ones we know of, or the ones that maybe somebody could go out there and just start locating all these groups. Because there's 3 or 4 for Arizona. I'm sure California has 50 or 100, but as many as we could find and get that up on the community page when we're ready to release that. So people, maybe by state have, you know, something where they can go to and say, hey, like Ripon AZ is good for the Phoenix area. And then you got, whatever the north, the Flagstaff area group is, and so on and so forth. So
This is kind of like a community Rolodex. It's a concept I've
Yeah.
I have come to the idea a couple of times. Like, we need one for insurance companies. We need one for donors. We need one for vendors. We need one for the community. We need one for educational resources. We need to start building a contact book. It's a lot of work. That's something that we can put up on the volunteer page. Somebody wants to volunteer to help with doing that kind of stuff. It's probably going to take a team.
It's working out.
yep, you're working now.
So you're talking
I
about
just
like a
think it would-
Wikipedia, like a wiki basically for FPV that has.
Dude, an FPV wiki, like for
Oh, that'd be
beginners,
epic.
would be kind of sick.
You
That
can
would
also
be
have
epic.
the region area. You can break it down by region, have people in it, the groups. I mean, I've been thinking about an FPV wiki for a while. Like, we need it. It's something that communities needed for a long time. I agree, Squishy.
That would also, a wiki format would also allow the community to help build the content, because this is not something one person.
No, it's going to take
Exactly.
a team. It's going to take a team of people, and it's going to take the entire community to keep it up to date. We'll just have to moderate it.
Exactly. It's not a bad idea. What do you think, Chad?
Sorry, I was muted. I think no, I love it. What's the time frame?
This would probably be something that would take months. We could probably have this ready by the time the filings.
Well, yeah, so I guess if we can find consistent moderators, then absolutely, or not moderators, but
Contributors.
managers. Yeah, whatever you want to call it.
people
But it
willing
needs
to
to be
make sure
consistent.
people aren't abusing it.
Yes. Yeah, I guess we do need moderators. I don't know what they're called. Editors.
Editors, yeah, I call them editors. At this point, I think we're a little short on resources to dedicate to that right now, though. So we
Mhm.
need to get some fresh.
Okay, so
Well-
let's. Oh, go ahead, Chad.
I was just going to say maybe that's one of the things that we can have in the what can I do now? Maybe we
Exactly.
have a form that, we can kind of outline some future responsibilities that we're expecting, and then people can fill out the form and say, hey, I'm willing to do this, that, the other.
So, are we wanting to use the same form we've been using for the application process, or do we want to create a new one for that page, a completely independent one?
I'd have to look at that one again. I don't remember what all we had on there.
It's pretty much a requirement at this point that anybody be on Discord to be involved.
So wouldn't it be like an education area, and wouldn't that already be under the volunteers? Like, isn't there people that can only kind of poke to be a part of it? Because, like, I know I signed up for the education volunteer forum, and that'd be under education for me, and I'd be down to be a part of the wiki, and help, like, just build out even a page a day. If I
We
did
do have people saying, I filled out the form. What can I do now? You know,
Right.
guys haven't contacted me. Why don't we tap those people?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I would agree.
All right, so going down in the notes is Zoe's taking charge of the wiki.
Thank you, Zoe.
Yeah, fair enough. That's a project I wanted to do for a while, so now's the time.
Now is your dreams realized?
In more than one way.
All right, so let's go ahead, Jim.
One thing, what you just said about that you have people signing up and they're ready to go, but you don't really have a plan for them yet. Majority of the people do, but while they might not necessarily like to be ordered around, they do like to be given direction. A pathway that they can follow. and I don't know if you guys discussed this in at length, like what you want the people to actually do, volunteer for you. I understand you have a multitude of things you're working on in roles, but 90% of the people who will be looking at joining you will not necessarily be involved in the kitchen stuff. But they're
Yeah, this
looking
is
to
why
build
we
their
need to.
community.
We'll need to outline and give clear direction on the tasks. We need to define the tasks clearly.
I think you simply need to have a designed process for that. What you want to do with these people.
We have some of that. Yeah, we do have some of that, but a lot of it has dependencies on the filing. Like this is the whole hurry up. Like the
Once you
committee,
launch,
like the
you will
committees
have
and
one
stuff.
opportunity to bring people in, and I don't think you want misfires on that front, because
No, that's
you'll be
true.
new and fresh, and you want to hit the ground running, and you don't want to put people in a situation. Awesome that you're here. Just wait until we figure out what to do with you.
No, that's good. So let's do that now. Let's those people that are we already have those people. So let's define these tasks that we have coming out of this meeting and put them up there and contact them, Chad. I don't know how we could do that best, but or who has all the data from those forums.
I have them. Actually, let me pull
Yeah,
it up and just see how many
second
entries we
that.
have.
I'll second what he said. I know I filled out the form, and I mean, I kind of listen in on the Wednesday calls, but I honestly have no idea how I can contribute. So just looking for guidance.
So a couple of things, looking that up. Zoe did create kind of like a conduct for.
Say again.
I think he disconnected.
Yeah, I think he dropped.
Yeah, we have 39 responses. So there's quite a few.
I'll get the wiki going tomorrow. Now that I have internet, I am probably gonna be up all night anyways. So I might as well do something productive.
Yeah, if you find a place that can host the wiki, I can try to get it incorporated into the website somehow.
So that's what I'll do. So I already have a hosting account. I'll just get a catchy domain for it, and then you can link to it from the main website. And hopefully you do it that way. I can be kind of independent. I mean, unless we have web hosting or something else that we can link to the main
Squishy
thing.
654 said define tasks on the table needing work presently, and ask volunteers to complete them.
And on that note, Squishy.
Squishy 654 said LOL.
Once I have the wiki up, I'll poke you / whomever about volunteers that might want to be moderators / editors to the wiki. So I'm sure there's a few of us that literally, if we have like 3 people making 1 article a day, then linking to YouTube videos that are already out there from YouTubers,
Kujo said
we'd
apparently
be
having
done
connection
instantly.
issues.
So Zoe, the first step would be defining like its major sections and just its structure. So let's look at that first. Like what is its major sections, or like beginner guide or region. I don't know how we're gonna incorporate the location.
How did it start? How do I get into it? What's the equipment? What do I need to know about frequencies, safety issues? I mean, I already have like all this stuff kind of in my head. It wouldn't take me very long to kind of get it out there and then add you, Chad, and everyone else as admins so you can restructure it on the fly. Like that's the great thing about Wiki. It's pretty flexible.
Zoe, I just shared the results of the committee applications with you. So if you want to go through there.
I'm looking. Where'd you share them?
On Google. So on
your email
Google
box.
Drive.
The email box. The thing that I need
to. It's a Google Sheet, and then you should get a notification on your email, and then you can see what they chose for resources, relevant affiliations. Some of them even have resumes they submitted.
Wait, which Google? I don't know if Google's just being mean to me, but oh, there it is. Google's being mean to me. Let's see. Right on. So yeah, no, I'll start poking people once I have a more defined role that I can give them and slash offer them. So yeah, there's plenty of people that want to help out with education. There's almost half of the responses are for education.
Right.
So that's a great place to put people's resources. And the great thing with the wiki is it's very unstructured, so people can drop in, drop out, add a little bit here, add a little bit there, and it can become its own little education community. As far as like hosting and resources, I'm down to give the domain over to the FPV Freedom Coalition once everything's materialized and transfer, hosting over to you guys.
Does our website have wiki functionality already?
Not that I could see.
Yeah, I don't think it does.
Kind of
Yeah, Squarespace
include
is
it,
pretty
suck it
limited
into
in
it.
that area.
No, but a lot of that stuff can be plugged in, maybe even not directly on it, but again, hosted separately and just linked to.
I'd like to see it integrated into the site, just be another
It can
tab
be
on the top.
integrated. It just would be as a module, so you'd have to have it hosted off of Squarespace for it to be integrated.
Yeah, if
Right.
it's hosted
It would
somewhere
still
else,
feel integrated.
and
Yeah.
if we can include it in what they call an iframe, which is like site within another site, then it would look that way.
Yep, and that's what I've done in the past for other wikis. Not my first rodeo, weirdly enough.
I sort of am liking the idea of using a wiki to gain content as well and possibly use it elsewhere.
I mean, we really need a wiki. I mean, I've been thinking about it forever, and now I've got the resources to do it in a little bit of time. So I'm down to put that into the wiki. It's like
It's a big project, so try not to bite off more than you can chew.
Think. Like with the website and hosting setup, I've got like 14 websites right now and a couple wikis. It would take me about an hour to get the wiki basic set up and then start inviting a few people tomorrow. Like I can get the outline of it done fairly quickly.
Cool.
That's not a big issue. It's like I said, not my first rodeo. If it was my first rodeo, I'd be like, oh God, what am I doing? But it's not. So I think it'd be a fairly easy project right now. Now, a week ago when I didn't have internet, I would have said you're crazy. But with internet, things are much more manageable.
So do we want to roll up our Rolodex ideas into the wiki, or do we want to keep those separate? Our contact lists and our lists of
I say put that into the wiki.
Okay, start building it there.
Yeah, if everybody can contribute to it, then it doesn't look like we're playing favorites or anything. Like anybody can add to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I don't want to be the primary. Like I want to be someone that helps start the fire. I don't want to keep, giving it kindling.
Well, no, it needs coordination. It needs management at this point.
Oh yeah, and I'm good at doing stuff like that. But yeah, so wiki wise, I'll hopefully update for you guys tomorrow on that. I'll post it in the group chat here in Discord, and if it's up on the internet and live, I'll link to the Facebook group too.
Perfect. All right, so I want to circle back to the website. So in its current form, if we take the community page down for the time being, since I still think the community aspect to the page, whether that be, I know we'll talk about integrating the groups and stuff into the wiki, but we need a community page. But if we take it down for the time being, and kind of wrap that ahead of filing.
I'm down, but we do need to. You have to remember to take a deep dive through the language for legal.
Yeah, I can put up tonight.
And we don't want to ask legal to do it, so we need to make sure that we're very thorough and complete on that.
Yeah, I'll go through it. And Dan, if you want to go through it as well, so we can have a 2-person sign off saying we're good.
Yeah, just make sure there's nothing we're
Assumptive. Yeah,
misrepresenting ourselves in any way.
absolutely. And we can, I mean, I know I'll take a look through every page tonight and make sure we're good there. I already added the language to the front page. And I think we would be good for rollout of it. Dave or Chad, any objections to that?
No, not at all.
Hey, Dave, take a look. See where he's added it. Is that clear enough, or do we need to draw more attention to it in any way?
Looking.
I'm just thinking if it was like in red text or something like that. If you know. Do we want it to stand out more?
I mean, I love the words. I think that's spot on. If we want to, punch the font size up a little or color, that would certainly help.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too.
Okay, can do.
Yeah,
I
nicely.
don't know. Does it
nicely
really
worded.
need to be that obvious? And I don't know. For some reason, to me, it seems more like the little asterisks on a TV commercial. Like, I don't know. The little subtitle.
I'm more concerned with the legal departments of other organizations scanning our website and looking specifically for it. We want them to see it and.
Sounds good.
If they see that, then they'll have to assume we've scoured the thing for the rest of anything else, right?
Yeah, but plus to me, if I'm, it's okay to be in the beginning stages. I mean, I agree with the whole notion that we try to polish the website as best we can before we launch it. But when we launch it, we will be before we've gained approval, and so it's okay to be in this stage. But I think it's really important to state it. So I like the approach. Hey, look at that, a fixed wing FPV on the website.
There's a few of them hiding in there.
Yeah. Oh, there's a wing.
By the way, on the checklist, I would recommend adding space for date, location, and maybe signature, some form.
Oh, you mean on the FPV, like the pre-flights and
The actual
whatnot?
files, yeah. That's good
Okay.
suggestions. Actually.
Yeah, I can do that. That's easy.
Makes it more official of a document if you want to use it that way.
It's a log, yeah.
But having said that, have you guys thought about an app?
The conversation has come up before, but it wasn't really heavily discussed, but it has come up before.
Is it along the lines of a flight log? Is that what you're thinking, Janik?
Yes, flight logs. Flight logs as an app. Again, another layer of safety that you can offer to your members.
If we could provide a service like AirMap or something like that, that would be incredible. But it costs so much money to develop something like that. This is where we get somebody like Red Cat to jump in and take our wants and wishes and design and throw theirs in with it. There are app developers in the FPV community we could tap, but none of those guys are going to work for.
In Europe, we've got an application called Drone Radar, It allows people to basically mark where they're flying. But having said that, it's primarily used for commercial operations.
Most of the apps in the US are for commercial use too. I think the only recreational stuff is mostly geared toward racing. One more thing before we wrap up. I know we're getting a little short on time, but the timeline that G36 had, do we want to get that up on the website? Just get it copy and pasted over there in the resources now in its current form, or do we want to review it? What do you guys
Put it up.
Yeah, I'd be happy to go ahead and put it up if everyone is
Yeah.
okay with the words that are on it.
I know that G36 has gone through it a couple times to make sure that it's all good. I haven't gone through it myself. I don't know who else has reviewed it, even for just typos. But if this thing is good, I think that we should get this out there ASAP.
Yeah. I'd say put it up.
Yeah, put it
I'm
up.
good with
Let's
it.
copy and paste it in, and I mean, I've caught a couple of typos here and there on the website. No big deal. We can kind of correct them as we go. So, and as it goes up, I mean, once Dan gets it up, we can all take a quick gander at it and do a once over.
I want to propagate this. So if we could get this propagated within 2 days, like within days, can we do that?
Yeah, it sounds doable.
Let's do it. Let me know when, and I'll start firing it off.
Sounds good. Oh, on a slightly related note, we also have a branding page that's not linked anywhere. I can post it down here. That may be helpful for Zoe if she needs to put any branding stuff on the wiki page or for other people here.
Where is the branding page? Is that only about us?
No, it's hidden. It's not linked anywhere. We kept it separate so that it's relevant only for those who are kind of creating content for us.
Got it.
So don't go changing the logo, or we'll have to make a lot of changes to the branding page.
No, does the branding page include anything other than the content itself? Does it have anything about font or colors? And I know it has colors, but does it outline policy at all about its use?
No, there's no policy on there right now.
No, not yet.
In the general chat and take a look at it if you'd like.
These business guys, like Chad, might be able to give us advice on what we can have, like some outlines around that.
Yeah. Wait, what are we? Where are we?
The
looking for
branding
that?
material.
Just tell people don't use it inappropriately, and then it's covered.
Well, what you're
Well-
looking for, what you're looking for is a style guideline.
That's what it is. It's a
Yeah.
style guide. It's like the enterprise style guide, whatever you want to call
Yeah, and we can do a version possibly even without text. I would love to have a little like, what are those pins called? Those what are they made out of? It's got the
You're talking
Place
about
name.
the pips?
Clayson
no, the little pins that you has this, you know, the needle on the back and
a lapel
and-
pin.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
a
they're metal. What are they called? That's
yeah, pewter, like
Of
an
the-
enamel pin.
enamel. That's what it is. Yeah.
Okay, it's Clayson
They
but
typically-
you know that's from I have a brother who's a jeweler, so that's okay.
Ah. No, I just mean the cheap ones.
Yeah, there you go. Lapel pin.
I like we got the little animation too. That's cool, and it plays.
Yeah.
That was put together by guy who works for Adobe FPV.
Sweet.
No, this is great.
Yeah, so normal things that would be in a style guide is placement, where the logo is used, size of the logo in relation to the rest of the page, not putting it next to other logos when we're talking about something, things of that nature.
Do you have an example? Do you already work with these? Do you have one of these for another organization?
I don't have IBM style guide, but that's
You can look them up
I have
too.
Cowper's style guide. I use it all the time.
mm-hmm.
In fact, I helped write it, so I should know how to do this. But I have to deal with like accessibility things and all kinds of stuff we probably don't have to worry about.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Yeah, once we're like subject to OSHA regulations and stuff, we'll worry about it.
I mean, I've seen style guides. I've not written them, but I've seen them that we can base it off of. But other things would be like what color, like when to use the white logo, when to use the black logo, all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
Well, if you
Yep.
guys can think of any of that stuff, you
Actually,
and
here-
50, put it
yeah.
on.
I have one. This is for a project that, oh boy, I started a long time ago and never got finished, called the Multi-Rotor Database.
Sounds like a wiki.
It actually was supposed to be.
Snooze, you lose, bro. Coalition in the
No.
house.
Trust me, I got plenty
So
on
what
my
sounds
plate.
better? Oh wait, can you hear me?
Yep.
Totally.
Oh hey, it works. Wow. Okay, this is amazing. So wefly.wiki or flightline.wiki?
I don't hear FPV anywhere in that title.
Yeah,
I was gonna say
that's what I was just waiting for.
FPV-FC? Is
Well,
FPV-FC available?
FPVFC.wiki? Actually, probably.
I would go for the lowest common denominator and call it the drone wiki. Like you need to
That's
be,
actually a good idea.
you can't be sophisticated. You have to hit them right between the eyes. With
That's
that
true.
stuff.
You do have to know your audience on this one. Is this one written for our community, or is this written for the public?
Okay, officially call the drone wiki. Don't buy the domain. It's mine. This thing is going live in the next hour.
Drone wiki.
The drone.wiki.
Bam.
That's a great name. That's kind of feedback I needed.
There you go, 50. There's some good stuff on the style guide. Do you see that?
Yep, I see it.
Just an outline of the types of information we need to put up there or include for our people.
Yeah, the bottom section is actually the bottom half of that's more for what was going to be the website.
So I have not taken very good notes during this meeting, and I know there's probably about 5 things I need to remember. So maybe you guys could remind me tomorrow. Got a couple of things we want to get out within the next couple of the days. And then is there anything else that we need to cover before we call this? We're already at an hour and
20 minutes. I
20 minutes.
I think we're probably pretty good.
Yeah, unless you guys got anything else. I don't think there's anything else we can call out right now. Let's get this work done. And then let's outline and define some of these other we need to produce work. We need to produce some guidance for the volunteers. So I think that's our big goal here for the next week.
Yeah, I think let's couple of keynotes here. So let's get the website ready to release, so we can release that in the next couple of days, hopefully. Let's get G36's deadlines up on the website.
And I'm going to spam that. So put an asterisk for squishy spam in that.
And then we've got Zoe taking lead on the drone wiki, and I think those are the couple big things. I need to finish up the bylaws and get that squared away so that we can actually file. So that's on me now. And anything else I missed, guys?
That's good.
Oh, and guidelines for volunteers. All right.
Well, tasks really that that whole what can I do to help button on the website needs to have some follow through.
Content behind it, yeah.
I would also recommend that you take the opportunity and when people sign up, softly try to mine them for useful information. Because while you just said a lot of the groups, the local groups, there's always going to be something you've missed. So ask people about their local environment. And that will give you useful information that you can use to contact people and expand your reach, but also it will give you potentially useful statistics to use in the future.
Absolutely. All
So
right,
you
guys.
should look at your sign up basically form.
Absolutely. Thank you, Janik. You've made a lot of great contributions for us this week.
Yeah, thanks for your perspective, dude.
Is definitely needed. So
I'm happy to help. I stayed up for this stuff.
Yeah, it's quite. I was
4
going
a.m.
to
here.
say, yeah, it's really late or really early for you. I was looking at that.
Yep.
And
If we need to
taking off-
change the time for these, let me know, you guys. If this isn't working out, you guys can think of a better time or something that bring more people.
Well, we have a lot of West Coast folks.
Don't mind me.
Right?
Don't mind me. I'm 6 a.m.
I don't think we have a lot of West Coast folks. We just want to account for them. That's all. East and
Yeah.
Part right
So
now
in
is the
taking
East
off what
Coast.
Janik said, if you know people who would like to take a look at our website who've never looked at it before, point them to it, watch them use it, and see how they navigate it, and give us feedback.
yeah, I made the mistake of letting a webmaster review it. So she came back like, "Yeah, it works great."
Yeah, I know how that.
I love it.
Well, consider this: your website is your product that you're trying to sell to the people. Just take a look at it and see how you can actually make it work as a product.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay. And I thank you all for joining in, giving us your feedback, giving us your opinions. That's what we need. So we got a lot of good go-dos, and so now we need to go do. So thank you all, as always.
Yeah, thanks everybody.
Thank you.
All right,
Take care.
thanks.
Okay, good night.
See you guys.